Well, welcome everyone to our session on innovations on the Meraki platform. First off, a big thank you to the panelists. I know we have folks joining from all over the world, I'm told. So really grateful for the time you're giving us today to share our innovations. Seeing is believing, and I know it's really unfortunate that we can't all be in the same room and looking over each other's shoulder and seeing what we can do. But we really hope to make the best of the time that we have today with you, even though it's virtual, and make sure that we spend less time talking and more time showing you all the wonderful innovations that we have been working on over the last few months or even a year in some cases. Quick intro, my name is Jayanti Srinivasan, and I lead the wireless business here at Meraki. We are also joined by three of our colleagues from Meraki. I'm going to let them introduce themselves as they kick off their demo sessions respectively. And a little bit about our crown jewel, the Meraki Cloud Platform, or the Meraki Dashboard, as some call it. Really, we are here to talk about all the innovations that are taking place on the Meraki Cloud Platform. And what the Meraki Platform is, for those of you that are not familiar, it's basically a scalable, extremely powerful, secure cloud architecture that powers and is foundational for a simple, smart digital workplace. So the Meraki platform not only includes the cloud solution, but also includes our Wi-Fi, our LAN, our WAN, MDM, firewall, and application management. And of course, I don't want to forget our really popular MV cameras. Besides the insanely popular Meraki dashboard, we also make available most of these solutions through APIs. So third-party ecosystem partners can build their solutions to provide even more use case-driven solutions for our customers. I want to talk a little bit about the scale. So we talk about simplicity a lot here at Meraki, but I also want to highlight and take a moment to introduce you to the scale at which we operate. As you can see, the numbers speak for themselves. We power some of the largest networks of the Fortune 100, Fortune 500 companies, and our devices online have crossed the 7 million mark. Now, that's truly something. We are spread, or I should say our customers are spread across 190 different countries. Only keeps increasing every day. And that means our cloud really is scalable across the globe. And that kind of scale and scope is truly one of a kind. But that's not all. Like I said, we talk about simplicity a lot at Meraki. It is foundational. It was foundational when this company was started and continues to be foundational as we focus on simplifying everything. But our platform has also evolved tremendously to cater to the scale and to the scope and to the digital agility that our customers demand from their solutions. So beyond simplicity, security and intelligence have become the three kind of the core pillars that basically drive everything we do here at Meraki. And we want you to see how we do this today. We're going to cover various aspects of how we do secure, simple, and intelligent in our Meraki platform. To quote Todd Nightingale, most of you watched the keynote yesterday, agility is built on insights and automation. And with several terabytes worth of data on a cloud, valuable data on a cloud, we are able to provide some truly deep insights into a full stack network, all the way from the wireless client to the application layer. We built Meraki Health ground up so we can provide our customers with the most intuitive use case driven insights for troubleshooting their networks. As we all know, more and more customers are taking on the journey of digital transformation. And what that means is that the cost of network operations and campus operations keeps going up every day. And it's truly critical to make sure that we are providing the solutions for better troubleshooting, for better debugging, and time is money. So we want to make sure how quickly we can do that for our customers. And this is exactly where Meraki Health comes in. You're going to see extensive demos from my colleagues showing how easy it is to pinpoint network issues, whether it's poor coverage from your wireless, bad roaming, broken switch link, or even just a bad radius server. We'll also show you how to take this beyond the campus and cover application health and provide everything that a customer needs to ensure complete SLA end to end. But then there's the other aspect of agility, which is really automation. And automation means you should be able to lay out policies at the click of a mouse and be done with it and be sure that it's secure. So we also introduced adaptive policy recently, And with this amazing innovation, our customers can now classify and group their services, devices, and users based on the identity as well as the intent, completely independent of the location and the type of the device on the network. Today, we will also show you how this works using the secure group tags, which again is unique to Cisco, and we'll have extensive demo and discussions around adaptive policy. Be it automation or insights, the one thing I want to leave here with is the fact that all of our solutions are simple, secure, and intelligent, and they are available end-to-end for the entire full stack across the entire Meraki platform.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sanmil Bumkar. I'm a product manager on the wireless team here at Cisco Meraki. And today I'm here to talk about Meraki Health, our solution for helping customers or network admins out there to understand what's happening in their networks and really provide them all of the insights that the Meraki Cloud or the Meraki Cloud platform can really bring to the fore. The first thing that I wanted to start off with is the key tenets of what we are trying to achieve with Meraki Health. One of the biggest things or the core principles of Meraki is work simple. And with keeping that in mind, we wanted to build something that's very easy to use and understand. Now, this is extremely important because at the end of the day, we want customers to just take a look at something and deduce what's happening rather than having to learn how to interpret that data. So easy to use and understand is one of the key and important pieces of this solution. The second aspect is having the right data at the right place with the right view. Now, this to me is extremely important. Being a network engineer myself in the past, I think one of the things that I've often seen network engineers struggle with is, just trying to correlate all of the data from different places. Now, you may have access to all of the data, but having them in a single pane of glass, in a single view, to, quickly identify what's happening or what are the areas that you need to focus on is extremely key. And, one of the key things that we are trying to solve here at Meraki is to ensure that, we minimize that time to resolution for customers. So that was one of the key focus areas. And the last piece is full stack assurance. Meraki is one of the key, Meraki is the only cloud provider that has all of the, wireless access switching and WAN in the cloud portfolio. And we want to bring the power of this full stack to you. So, we can provide you that full end-to-end visibility, as Jayanti mentioned. Now, with all of these three key tenets, a lot of research went into, mapping what users are seeing, what are the pain points that, our customers are complaining about. And keeping all of this in mind, the solution was designed. And one key thing that I wanted to highlight was the solution is available with base license for all customers. So just with a firmware upgrade, all customers can take advantage of these solutions that I'm going to be talking about. Now, keeping these three in mind, there's one component that you have to especially think about when when you're designing a solution that's end-to-end and full stack, and that's wireless. Because wireless is inherently complex, and there's an entire RF medium out there that you have to think about as you try to design solutions. Because there may be so many factors at play. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is two buckets. Either customers are saying, I cannot connect to the wireless network, or they're saying, I cannot browse the internet, or my wireless is too slow, along to that end. So if you really closely pay attention to this, it's really two things. It's either connectivity related issue or it's performance related issues. And that's what, we've simplified it down to. We want to give you a very easy way to, decode that information within dashboard and easily understand. Now with that, I'm going to dive into Meraki dashboard to show you how easy it is with all of these new tools to understand, what's happening with the client devices. So this is what the client page looks like. Now, as soon as, you hear about an issue, the one thing that you always hear about is the client. And then you can easily go to the client page and you can, see some of the tools quickly there to identify how the client is connected to the network. The client connected widget over here shows you the end-to-end connectivity that the client is taking and the data path it's also taking, all the way from the access point all the way down to the firewall that it's taking. Now in this case, as you can see, the client is connected to an AP, which is connected to a set of two switches and then onto the firewall appliance. In addition to just providing the full end-to-end connectivity, we are also providing you quick ways to identify if something is wrong. Those green check marks are actually meant to highlight, is everything okay? Is there something I need to be aware of? And so if you go on, if you go on the AP in this case, it'll highlight intelligently only the information that's relevant. For example, in this case, the client is connected on 5 gigahertz, so it's only showing you information related to 5 gigahertz because we don't want you spending a lot of time, looking at other information when only that information is relevant. In addition to this, the tool detects issues and those check marks will change as things go wrong, or if things go wrong, hopefully they don't. But one of the issues that we've seen in this very network was this cable was bad and it started to show CRC errors. The customer was just able to go to the client page, quickly identify what may be happening here and replace the cable. Now imagine that doing without this tool. You may have to take packet captures on the wireless side and on every single hop as you go along. Now, given that this is the third hop, it would have taken you analyzing packet captures on the first 2 hops and then go to the third one. Now, with this tool, it was just a single click. Now, going from analyzing packet captures on 2 hops to a single click, I think that saves a lot of time, folks. And that really excites me because we are helping customers address, genuine pain points there. But this tool is pretty real time. It provides you information for only up to 2 hours. And as we all know, a lot of times, issues are reported after the fact. So you do need a set of historical information. So you will see, a health widget over here that provides you a high-level connectivity. But if you want to dive into detail, there's a new connections tab that you can see. And on the connections tab, now I pulled up a second client here, but on the connections tab, you will start to see the client's point of view of how it was connecting to the network. Remember, having the right data at the right place is one of the key tenets that we're trying to do. So providing all of the client-specific view of how the connectivity trended is something that's extremely important. Now, as you can see here, this client, for example, is failing most of the times. Now, it's very easy for us to say that, this looks like a client issue, but do we know for sure? Can we say that for certain unless or until we verify that at an AP level? And so in order to quickly, close that gap and quickly come to a conclusion, we've added the same information at an access point level as well. So between the client and the access point, you can easily rule out either of those things. One of these issues that, we've seen in our office was one of our VPs complained that, they had connectivity issues. And as I started looking into the issue, what I realized was, the device was failing on a specific SSID in an area, and it was related to one single AP. And I quickly went to the AP, and I was able to understand that it was an AP issue. Now, what happened the other day was, there was a radius change that went through, and the AP wasn't configured properly. And I was able to identify all the way down to an AP in 2 clicks. Now, to me, that's extremely important. That the amount of time it took me to figure out what's actually happening was really something that, was the highlight of that entire use case, I would say. Now, as I mentioned, it's just, one half of the puzzle that I can look at connectivity issues. The second half of the puzzle is to actually identify, why someone is having a poor experience on the wireless or why someone cannot browse on the internet. Now that basically comes down to, signal quality, be it latency, be it RSSI or SNR. That's the information that you're trying to understand and look for. So we've added this new performance tab on the client page. Now, as soon as you come here, what you may be seeing is, application usage, signal quality, latency, and data rates. Now you may be wondering, it's a single graph, but Wi-Fi devices are by definition mobile. Now, you may be wondering, how are we plotting this information? Now, and that's the key. What we're doing is we're mapping that entire journey as the client traverses throughout the network, and we're stitching that information together. So let's say, for example, if a device, connected across 10 APs, we are taking every metric that we've shown here as the client connects to that AP and stitching it together as it moves across. This is extremely powerful to have, in a single click and all of the information that you have. Now, you may be wondering, why do I have AP level information on this page? The key thing is we're doing the same thing with the information. So channel utilization, AP usage, number of clients, we're actually bringing that information as the client was connected to that AP, so you can address and identify the impact that a certain metric has all the way down to a client. You don't have to go across pages and estimate or deduce that, oh, this may have impacted the client performance. We can actually now provide you all of that information with accurate data to show you where that's happening.
I have a question, Sunil.
Yes.
You're talking about across the network inside of a LAN, for example, right? Do we have the same insight between locations? If I have Meraki at 5 different locations, can I see that same, like an analysis of a flow, for example?
So not across different networks, because that goes at a high level, and over there stitching that information has its own set of challenges. We can discuss more about some of the challenges that you can face in terms of representing that data. Okay, now you may be wondering what those blue bars are all about. The blue bars are actually showing you which AP the client is connected to. And as the client moves across the APs, you start to see breaks in those blue bars. As networks are becoming high density, two of the most common things that you start to see is either a sticky client or aggressive roaming, the hip hopping client, as I call it. With this blue bar, you can easily identify both those things. So if you have signal to noise ratio that's going down poorly consistently with the blue bar, as a big line, that's one indicator. Or if you have a lot of breaks in that blue bar, you can easily identify that there was aggressive roaming happening on that client. This is an actual use case that we've identified in one of the networks. And in addition to that, as you identify things, you are making config changes. Now, when you're making config changes, you want to understand what is the impact of those config changes happening on the network. In this case, what we're doing is we are adding that config change information over here. So while the client was connected to, let's say, AP1, if there was a config change, we will start to highlight it over here. Now, that's extremely key because it lets you map the impact of a config change all the way down to a client. Not at the network level, not at the AP level, but all the way down to a client. I think that context is extremely, extremely key. And last but not least, the color coding. It gives you an instant quick snapshot of what may be going wrong, so you can quickly zone in and you can start seeing that information. Now, this information is also available at an access point page. So if you want to look at an access point, so in case you're looking at a coverage hole issue, you can go to the access point and you can look at the channel. You can look at the signal to SNR, and you can see if it's consistently serving that area poorly, and that's one of the indicators. Last thing, and the inner nerd in me was really happy when I was able to do this, was the ability to differentiate between upload and download data rates. As we know, at the client level, the upload data rates are negotiated by the clients and the download are negotiated by the APs. One of the key things that you're trying to understand is the client's perspective. What's happening at the client side, if anything's happening on the client side. And if you filter it just with an upload data rate, you can easily tell if something is being driven from the client side or if it's from the AP side. If you consistently see the upload data rates being lower as compared to the download, you can quickly identify, that's something may be going wrong at the client side. Now, all of this is still, fairly technical. It gives you a lot of context. It's easy to use. But, we wanted to take it one step further. We wanted to take it even simpler. We wanted to make it even simpler. So we're adding, a client timeline within dashboard. As you can see here, this timeline actually provides you a summarized list of what happened for that client. Now, this timeline is actually built from ground up because we are actually looking at the connection states for each client as it goes through that connectivity phases. And we are detecting where it's hitting issues, and we are highlighting those for you. What you're seeing here is, for example, if there's a successful connection, we show you the information. And we show you even, the radius server. One of the biggest problems that we've heard from customers is it's very hard to map which radius server was used for a specific transaction. And we are providing that information to you because if you are in the event of a failover between a radius server, identifying that and attributing that failover to that event is extremely hard to do. And now with a single click, you can start to looking at those issues. Now, this is a successful connection, but what if things go wrong? If things go wrong, what we do is we detect those issues and we show you. In this case, it's an EPTLS, so you need username password. And what we're detecting is, there was a password failure that happened, and we're giving you recommendations on, what to do. Either go check the incorrect password or make sure, the SSID settings are correct. Now, there's a lot of intelligence built into this as well. As we start detecting issues, we are going to start highlighting. You may see some, Radius authentication failures that you start to see in here. But at the end of the day, if we can make it colloquial, we are starting down the path. We want to make sure that we give you in, very easy to read, very easy to understand manner what's happening. Now, I talked a lot about, the innovations on the across the stack, but there's a few more that my colleague Nikita is going to talk about. But before that, I'm going to open it up to questions if there are any.
Yeah, I got one real quick for you. You mentioned being able to go back historically and trace per client that you have, any other issues that they may have had in the past. Mm-hmm. What kind of retention are you looking at for that data on a per client basis?
So we have up to 1 month of data retention.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. Like, so I work in the healthcare environment, and we have people that might come in for an appointment on a weekly basis. And if you're looking at a client, what happened last week when they were here for their appointment, kind of determining that. So yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, so it is up to a week. Actually, that brings up a very good point that I want to highlight. Because this is built from ground up, right? Like we had to take a lot of things into consideration. The amount of data that this is generating is tremendous. And Jayanti, highlighted the scale at which we operate. This was enabled with a firmware upgrade for all of our devices across the global footprint. The amount of data that we are actually taking in and processing is tremendous over here. So that also speaks to, the scalability of the solution that we have.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sunil. And hello, everyone. My name is Nikita, and I'm the TME in the product management team for MI and SD-WAN. And I'm here to talk about Meraki Insight on MX. We've seen a continuous increase in trends for SaaS applications over time, especially now, and we will be seeing that in the near future as well. So with this, a lot of businesses are moving their SaaS applications to the cloud. Now, when they do that, they need a tool that tells them what is or gives them the visibility into SaaS application performance for WAN and beyond. So Meraki Insight within the Meraki platform was introduced in order to make sure that you get the visibility and the analytics that you will need in order to troubleshoot application performance across different networks. And also, as you've seen, it ties in very well with your assurance story that we just heard at Meraki Health. So Meraki Insight is a network performance management tool that runs on the MX platform or the security appliance at Meraki. So what it does, it basically was developed in order to solve three main use cases. So what are these three use cases? It's the end-to-end performance or application performance visibility, which is under the web app health. And it tells you where exactly you can go in order to troubleshoot the issues and reduces the troubleshooting time so that you can work on resolving it. The other one is the WAN health. It basically is a one single pane glass view of how your networks are behaving across different regions or however it's distributed globally. So it tells you the availability of the uplinks so that you can keep the SLA at check. And lastly, it is the VoIP health. VoIP health is a proactive tool. So what it does is it tells you how, when you place a voice call on the network, is it going to behave. So depending on that, that no matter how many voice calls are going to be placed on it, you are going to get a bad performance or a good performance. We also tell you the hop by hop analysis and give you where exactly is the voice performance degradation happening so that you can take that information to the relevant party and make sure it's resolved within the less downtime. However, in this particular session, what I want to do is I want to discuss and dive deep into the end-to-end SaaS application performance under the web app health. So what we've done is we've taken a step level higher and we've gone to the next level and given you, or we've tried to bridge the gap between the actual user performance and the analytics that you will see on the Meraki Insight data platform. So what that is it's called Smart Threshold. So smart threshold was introduced in web app health, and it runs machine learning algorithm. So what this does is this automatically sets the thresholds for each application across every network. So what it does, it looks at past behavioral patterns and trends and identifies what a good threshold will be for that particular application on that network. So if there are any anomalies that fall outside the norm, it'll highlight that as well. So some of the parameters that it looks in order to make sure that these baselines performance for every application is good is that it looks at the network's performance for that application, the network's performance across different applications, and the application performance across different networks. So we want to make sure that we account for it globally and make sure we're giving you the right baselines, no matter where you're situated in the globe and accessing the application.
So Nikita, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
For the ML, actually, machine learning, you said, what's the difference between here and the, let's say, anomaly detection system? What we are doing extra?
So what we're doing is, since we've already spoken about Meraki has, a plethora of data, right? So we have networks coming in from so many different regions, and we have customers globally spread out. So what this machine learning algorithm does, it looks at it in a very holistic way. So it looks at data coming in from, Australia or from Europe and accessing maybe an application server here in the United States. So how is that different from a same organization having an office here? So we give you that kind of difference and a holistic picture, which, is what machine learning or Meraki Insight is striving to do. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. Cool. So moving on, then what I want to do is, I've spoken about this. Let me dive quickly into the demo and show you exactly like what you can get and how exactly does this work. So this is the landing page for the web app health. And I've told you before that Insight has 3 portfolios, the web app health, WAN health, and VoIP health. So the web app health, this is the landing page. However, as soon as you land, you will be presented with a dialog box introducing you to Smart Threshold. So we want to make sure that at Meraki, the quality of experience is at par excellence for all our users. And as soon as they land on this, they want to be, capable of handling this tool or capable of diving right into the information without having to, have a steep learning curve or a shallow learning curve. So what that happened, so we introduced this, so giving a quick snapshot of what you can expect, after which you can see that there's a lot of applications that are currently being monitored. Now, Meraki is again all about simplicity, and we want to make sure that you can configure these applications within few clicks. So if you scroll down, you can hit on configure web application, and we already have a pre-built-in list of applications that you can select from. However, if these applications are not in this list, you can select custom, and you can add the custom application over here. So you can put in the application name and the expression and hit save. As soon as you hit save, we will start monitoring the application performance. Now, I want to let you guys know that Meraki Insight is both an amalgamation or a mix of passive monitoring and active monitoring. However, on web app health, we need the user to be actively using the application in order to give you statistics. So whatever you're seeing right now, you have the user using these particular applications. And you can clearly say that this has been divided into 3 regions, the LAN, WAN, and server. And we, give you the performance metrics in terms of a green check and a red X, telling you exactly where you need to go in order to, detect, get more granular details on the issue so they can resolve. So the LAN is basically anything that is from the end client device up until your MX appliance. The WAN is from the MX appliance up until your server, and the server information is the performance metrics of the server in itself. Now, what I've been talking about like thresholds, I've been talking about application performance, but you guys might be wondering like, what are these benchmarks? What are you evaluating these performance metrics on? So good question. So what we've done is we've used 2 parameters, goodput, which basically ties in with the WAN and the LAN performance, and the response time, which ties in with the application response time performance or the server performance. You can add these application or these metrics like statically, that is fine. So if you have like a custom application that your developer knows what a good baseline should be, absolutely you can go ahead and add this. However, to take that human error out of picture and to give you like a close proximity of what the user experience is going to be, we've introduced smart thresholds. So smart thresholds, again, is very simple. As soon as you enable this, you will see that there's an icon that lights up and basically says that, hey, now this smartness or intelligence is running on this application, and you can see this to the network level as well. So as soon as I'm enabling this, you will see that there are certain parameters over LAN and WAN changing for different networks. Once that was a problem before on the server, on the LAN or the WAN, is now no longer a problem, or vice versa. So that kind of high level detail you will get on this page. Now, this is great, but you want to make sure that you want a network level detail. So you want to go dive deep into a particular network. Maybe they're a notorious network with like not that great of a bandwidth, and you want to make sure that the application performance is still good. You can do that as well. So what you can do is you can click on any one of these applications. Say we click on iTunes, and the next page that will take you is to the network level page. So you can see at every network what is the issue and where exactly you need to go. So depending upon what you're looking for, you can customize this view accordingly. Now, if you click on View Trends, it will take you to this page, which basically tells you how the application is performing across different domains, which is your WAN, LAN, and your application server. So this is a view which pre-smart threshold. So if you didn't have smart thresholds enabled, you will see that the threshold over here is what was set statically, which is 3 seconds. And this is the actual application response time at that particular time. It's the same thing for WAN as well. The gray dotted line will tell you the statically set or the default values that before that existed before you enable smart threshold. And it's the same thing on the LAN as well. However, after you enable smart threshold, you will see that the response time, which was before 3 seconds, is now 1.9 seconds. 1.9 seconds. So what this tells you is that 3 seconds is definitely a larger, you can't be sitting in front of the monitor 3 seconds waiting for the page to load. So with 1.9 seconds, it is kind of realistic depending upon what the network behavior is at that time. So it brings you, like I said, closer to the actual network performance that is happening at that place. So you can identify that, hey, whatever policies I have configured for this particular application, it is working, and it is, it's actually using that policies that I've configured. So having said that, you can go into the WAN as well, and you can see how it's performing on each tab. However, every time it crosses this particular threshold, it'll be marked in red. So users can come right at this spot and identify what are those time frames that it has gone beyond this particular threshold. Now, not only that, right? You can have, maybe there is a time when your CIO or your VP is having a very important meeting. And in that meeting, he's using a particular application that he needs constant access. So as an IT admin, you can make sure that this view that you are, you're monitoring that, and you're like letting them, you're seeing that there's nothing that is going wrong. And, you're making sure that even if it does, you have the data and you know what to resolve at that point. So that kind of analysis is possible. And how is that possible? Is that you can click on the clients tab and it'll enlist all the clients that are using this information. So you can select the VP's computer or device that he's using, and then you can select that. After doing, the graphs will reflect that particular client's behavior. So if you know that client is behaving properly, you're all good. It's perfect. Otherwise, you can go back and take the steps to resolve that issue. So not only that, right? This is per client level that you can go in order to identify the application performance. Now, there are scenarios where you have more than one service accessing that application or running that application. So you want to make sure that if it's either behind a load balancer or multiple servers, that all of them are giving you the good performance for the application. So if there's one server not performing well versus the other, you can also select that server, and the graphs will reflect that particular client's performance for that application on that server. So you can go into that detail in order to make sure that you're getting the relevant data points in order to troubleshoot. And not only server, we've given you domains as well. So if you have more than one domain, you can see how that is behaving with respect to one domain, and also uplinks. So, with SD-WAN becoming a really big thing right now, you want to make sure that you're getting power excellence on both the uplinks for every application performance. And that information is also available via this page. So depending, sure.
Sorry, for the goodput actually here we are seeing, how we are calculating it, not throughput, but goodput it says. Can you open it?
Absolutely. So that's a good question there. So what happens is good put, since we want to make sure that when the client or a user is having a performance issue, it's not just one parameter. It is a mix and a weighted average of several parameters. So what are these parameters? It's the raw good put that we see at that particular time, which is the throughput, the loss that we see at that time, and the latency that we see at that time. So it is a calculated measurement of all these three parameters, and then we give you the good put value, because it's not necessarily that a latency is causing an application performance. Maybe, maybe not. But we want to make sure that we account for every different measurements, get the weighted average or a function of it, and then give you the measurement on that. So that's good put. Perfect. So yeah, depending upon what the use case is and what you're trying to troubleshoot, the data is there for you. So all you need to do is customize this particular view in order to take you, to give you that information so that you can resolve the issues quickly.
Thank you. So real quick, my name is Alex Berger, and I'm a TME on the Meraki switching platform. And I'm here today to talk about a new feature we've introduced called adaptive policy. So at Meraki, we have spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out a way to provide a cohesive security strategy for our customers. And a lot of that focusing on that zero trust approach and being able to really take control of your clients and what they're allowed to do on the network. And some of the key goals we had were quickly being able to limit the exposure on your network and being able to quickly remediate threats and being able to isolate clients that could be potentially threatening. So that being said, I want to talk a little bit about kind of the overall architecture of adaptive policy here, and then I'm going to hop into a demo. And so with adaptive policy, the whole goal behind this feature set is to provide a single pane of glass, single place to configure policy for your entire organization. And what this means is that you can go ahead and develop all of the groupings or classifications of your clients and devices, and also configure that policy and have that reflect across all of your sites that have this feature enabled. To get into a little bit more specifics, this is 100% based on Cisco's inline security group tagging, utilizing those SGTs to provide IP-agnostic policy, micro-segmentation within a VLAN, for instance, and also being able to perform policy based on identity and intent on the network. Now, there's a few things to keep in mind. We will have a flexible method to assign tags, whether that is through static switch port assignment, statically to an SSID, or even dynamically through radius, utilizing like Cisco ICE to send back the SGT value. And last but not least, we're also going to have a fallback method of assigning tagging called IP to SGT maps, which will allow you to map resources that may be external to your network that you'd like to have specific policy applied to. Now, a couple of requirements we do have. This will be supported on our 802.11ac Wave 2 and up access points and our MS390 switching platform. The other thing that you do need to keep in mind is this will require advanced licensing on both of those devices, or both of those device types. So when you're looking into this feature, just keep those in mind. Now, one of the key reasons we went with inline SGTs is to be able to provide interoperability with the rest of the Cisco portfolio. So keeping in mind that we could easily integrate into a TrustSec environment or utilize tags in an ASA or firepower edge firewall. And even then also integrate with ACI through the SGT to EPG process with ICE. And we are also working on the ability to be a policy extended node within an SD access environment, allowing us to not only share identity in and out of the fabric, but be able to apply policy as well. Now, I've mentioned being able to share identity, but one of the key bits here is not just sharing identity between domains, but also making sure that the policy matches. Because as an end user, when you plug into, depending on which domain, you don't want to have your permissions change and your connectivity change. And so that being said, we are going to have, when we take this feature set out of the current beta that it's in, a Docker container that will sync policy between dashboard and Cisco ICE, so that no matter what, if you have policy configured in ICE and you change policy or you add new tags, you can easily sync those to dashboard and have that be on demand or even periodic if you, just to sync every like 5 minutes or so. And with that, the end goal, Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
SG2 to EPG, when you say, is it kind of mapping or what's happening there?
Yeah. So
or ACI integration, let's say.
Yeah, so the ACI integration, there's a phase 1 integration where ICE performs the IP to SGT to EPG mapping for ACI, and then vice versa. It's not going to be inline tag sharing into the ACI environment, but it will be identity utilization. So currently the integration, like with a TrustSec environment, uses this same phase 1 integration with ACI. It does require ICE, though, to perform that mapping.
So it's a kind of a mapping, but not sharing the SGT states between the devices.
Yeah, it doesn't use data plane mapping in that case.
Okay.
So does that answer it? Cool.
Yes, thank you.
All right, and just real quick, and I'm going to hop into the demo. The end goal for this feature set is to make sure that we have policy synced, or be able to have policy sync between domains, and be able to share that identity through a simple SGT trust configuration, so that no matter what, if you plugged into a Meraki switch or access point or connected to any of the other Cisco tag-based security domains, that client gets that same experience and has that same policy applied. So let me go ahead and exit out of this now.
Now, quick question regarding integration on the network assurance side with those MS390s and Wave 2 APs. Is there also integration there, or is it just the SD access for now?
Oh, you mean like the overall client assurance functionality?
Yeah, within Cisco DNA, is there the similar integration on that side?
So, so we are investigating, pulling in some of the metrics from dashboard into DNA Center. It's definitely a goal, right, to be able to have that information as spread across all the products as possible. But that is not there today, though. So you would have to, from a client, if you were plugged into a policy extended node that's a Meraki device, you'd have to look in dashboard for some of those assurance analytics.
Gotcha. But what is there today is some of the SGT functionality you're talking about now? That's current functionality?
Yeah, so from a security perspective, the SGTs, I guess, can you restate your question? I apologize.
So I guess I'm looking at this as, there's the SD access functionality where you can extend your security policy, and then there's the other side, there's kind of network assurance where you have that visibility into your wired and wireless health. And you're saying that the visibility is more kind of a future goal, whereas the security integration is what they're focusing on now. Is that accurate?
Yeah, we're able to quickly actually do the security aspect just because we are using the Cisco standard inline SGT functionality. We are working towards some further integration for visibility. But yeah, from a security perspective, that's the initial integration that we're working towards.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thanks.
Cool. So looking here, I have an organization that I have adaptive policy enabled for. And as I mentioned, this is an organization-wide feature. So the first thing I would do is go to Organization and Adaptive Policy. And this first page you're brought to is where you can start specifying your different classifications, such as maybe unique classifications that we want to apply policy to. And so once we've actually created these tags, all we need to do is go to Network, and then select a network. Let's do this alphabetically, where I want to enable the feature. So all I need to do is put a check mark here and click enable. And at this point, we'll go in and validate that you have the right firmware, that you have the right licensing. And if all those match up, we'll enable this feature. And at that point, the network will have adaptive policy configurations available, and the policy will get downloaded to all of those devices. So once I have the actual feature set enabled on a network, we can start classifying traffic. So if I navigate to switch and switches, I can go here to, for instance, this core switch. And on port 11, I actually have an IoT server that I want to make sure, is applied the IoT server tag. So I can easily go and click configuration and then have the selection here for my adaptive policy groups. And as you can see here, I have that IoT servers tag 11 selected. And so once I've selected that tag, anything that's plugged into this switch port will take on that security group tag and be shared throughout the network. Now we can do that statically, but if we had this set up for an 802.1x configuration, we can also receive tags from that radius server and apply a specific tag to that unique session, so that if you had multiple clients behind a switch port or it was a port in a common area, you could easily apply a different policy based on the device type, the user, combination of all of the above. So once I have classification on my wired side, I can easily go into my wireless network. And if I go to access control, let me change over to this one here. This is my IoT SSID. I'm using identity PSK without radius. And all I have to do to apply that IoT tag is scroll down here to the adaptive policy group. And you can see here I have the tag 10 of IoT device applied to this SSID. So any device that connects to this SSID will get this tag 10 and will get the policy for that tag 10. Now, if I had a radius server configured, let's say I was using identity PSK with radius, and I was sending back my pre-shared keys per connection, I can also send back an SGT value, allowing for unique tag value application on the SSID itself. This means that if you have different varying requirements for security policy for a specific SSID, you can easily apply those through that radius server. Now, once I have that actual classification built in my network and I navigate back to adaptive policy, one of the things that I want to do next is actually apply a policy between tags. Now, keep in mind, this is at the organizational level. So if I had my classification set up at each of my sites and I needed to update a policy, all I have to do is navigate to this one page and go through and update. So a good example I like to use is taking an IoT device and potentially restricting or providing specific access between the IoT devices. And maybe I want to deny their access so that these IoT devices can't spread malware between each other. All I have to do is click that deny button and my policy has been updated. Now, let's just say I wanted to provide specific communication to my IoT servers. So maybe I need my IoT devices have full unfettered access to the server. All I need to do is click custom and then start adding different ACLs that I've built. So for instance, I may want to enable and allow MQTT because I have a bunch of sensors that need to be able to publish information. Or maybe I also need to permit, where to go, HTTPS, because I need to make some REST calls to a service. So being able to easily select and make sure I lock down this communication to just specific ports. And maybe in the end, I don't want to allow access. So just clicking deny will allow me to make sure that any IoT devices that try to communicate with their IoT servers will only be able to do so on these specific protocols. And then also keeping in mind that this is 100% IP agnostic. So whether they have an IP address in X subnet or Y subnet doesn't matter, as we are applying these tags to that connection itself. Well, I think that actually does conclude our session technically. And I want to thank everybody here for getting to talk to y'all. And please do check out some of the Cisco live sessions. I will have a deep dive on adaptive policy that's going to come out in July, I believe. So please do check that out to get a little bit further depth on the actual feature set itself.